So there's the past. Let's say that stretches back billions of years, but it is finite. It began somewhen, probably. And there's the future ahead of us, unfortunately. Let's say billions of years at least, but it's also finite. It will end somewhen, probably. But what about the present? How long is now? Think about it. Is the present infinitely thin, this moment we find ourselves in now? Can't be infinite, surely. Infinite things would occupy everywhere and every when simultaneously, so couldn't move. But the present is moving. Well, is the present a finite duration then? Maybe, but if it was, then couldn't we exactly isolate the moment the present gives way to the past? The nanosecond that events get crystallized and start trailing behind us? Couldn't we zoom in and in until we could see the border point, the threshold of time itself as now becomes was? And if we could, would that be the present? No idea. Not like there's an answer anyway. But if you've ever thought about this stuff, you may be glad to hear it's not just the kind of obligatory small talk you have to make at the local opium den, but a branch of philosophy millennia old called metaphysics. So philosophy is where questions go that science can't answer. Metaphysics is where questions go that science tried to answer, dropped out for a semester, moved to Sardinia, spent several months on a beach doing Molly with an alpaca salesman called Federico, said, screw it, became a database admin, adopted a Shiba Inu, and lived contentedly never thinking about that nonsense again. Metaphysics. Meta from the Greek for beyond or after, and physics from the Greek for lifelong chastity. Asking questions about the fundamental nature of reality, yes? Not where does the time go, but why does time move at all? Not what particles are there, but why are there particles in the first place? Sure, but this stuff doesn't apply to anything in the real world, it's just pompous horseshit, you might say. Yeah, probably is, I might reply. How is it gonna help with world peace or space exploration, you might say. Yeah, that's true, I might reply. Where's the toilet, by the way, you might say? It's down the corridor, to the right, I might reply. Cheers, you might say. Then, a few moments later, I've fallen into a pit of snakes! Ouch! Ooch! My eyes! My spleen! Ha! I might reply, it was deception, the toilet is in fact upstairs. I actually directed you into the snakearium, where the snakes are kept perpetually oiled and slippery so you can't tie them together in a makeshift ladder and escape. So take that for shit-talking philosophy. Oof, you might say, and so forth. To be honest, there's no real danger, actually. The snakes are all vegetarians. I mean, except for Cerberus, devourer of flesh, king of the blood-drinking hellspawn. He's vegan. But metaphysics does matter, you despicable jellied eel. Like, if you want to build a sweet-ass bridge, then that's an engineering problem. But you'll need some good materials and calculations and whatnot, so then that's a physics problem. But you'll need to trust the matter the bridge is made of will actually keep existing and the laws of nature will keep applying to it, which then that's a metaphysical problem. Talking of which, hey, what's this? Oh, it's a refreshing jug of angria, which is prepared the same way as sangria, but with a few drops of Tabasco. And you drink it while thinking of all the disparaging things your father said to you on the way home from orchestra practice that you certainly don't vividly remember 20 years later. Yes, but what is it? Fermented fruit, carbon atoms, that sort of stuff? And down again, subatomically, electrons, protons, spin networks, who knows at this point? And under that? No idea. But something is keeping the liquid being. Something is making it so electrons don't spiral into atomic nuclei, so chemical bonds don't suddenly blow up. There is a force or habit maintaining things. The universe remembers where all of its molecules are at any one time and applies consistent laws to them. But why? Why do we trust that reality and everything inside it will stay consistent? That the sun will still come up tomorrow? Just because it's done it before? Why would that mean it happens in the future? This is called the problem of induction. No one solved it, probably no one ever will, hey ho. And the same goes for our modern concept of causality and freedom. How is a decision possible? You're watching this video now because you made a choice to be here, because of your awful taste. And that began in your mind, the space where you weigh things rationally and make decisions, sure. But your mind runs on language and history, all the stuff we've inherited from deados and pastos, who we're soon to become ourselves, of course, the 21st century paradigms we can't but help think in. And all that runs on biology, synapses, and neurons, and oxytocin, and shit, the machinery of you. And under that is matter, the particles and interactions that everything is made out of. And where is a decision in that? isn't it all a deterministic causal network that got rolling billions of years ago anyway? One that we're not just a part of, but made of. And doesn't that make decisions and free will impossible? That from the moment we were born, from the moment everything was born, you and I have been destined to arrive at this exact moment, here and now, because our minds and bodies are just as bound up in the unfolding of events as every other blob of matter in the universe. And free as we may feel, we've never truly made a single choice about anything. And if free will was possible somehow, is that to say that we could step outside of the scripted drama of matter playing out across the great and ancient stage of space-time and imagine that we, bipedal meat units, could make a decision somehow miraculously undetermined by everything around us that led up to this exact moment? That just for a second we could, unprecedented, undetermined, stand outside of ultimate reality. Talking of which, what is apple? How to describe apple? Crunchy, green, sometimes quite liquidy, but those are just adjectives, those are just appearances. Doesn't there have to be something behind the adjectives that makes an apple real? Can we ever know can we ever know stuff beyond appearances? Because until 150 years ago, no one knew a thing about radio waves. Then we learned how to produce them and receive them, and suddenly they were everywhere. But they were everywhere long before that. Stars are bombarding us with radio all the time. That's how radio telescopes work. We just can't see that type of EM radiation with our eyes. And suddenly we discovered it technologically, and next came X-rays and gamma rays and tau leptons and toaster fetishes and whatever else. And it turned out there's a whole bunch more phenomena we didn't know had been there all along. So it might be reasonable to assume that there's the world of appearances, where we live, where apples are green and crunchy, and then presumably there's the world of ultimate reality, where everything, actually really is, where there live apples beyond adjectives, the things in themselves as they are, objects in their fullness, beyond just appearance, beyond just what we can pick up with our senses. Transcendental idealism is what we would call this position if we're being pretentious. Actually, we'd say the same if we're not being pretentious, because that's its fucking name! To think that a toothbrush, a paperclip, a sock has a hidden nature beyond our senses, the secret life of dull objects. And for that matter, what's a human life? Since we were children, almost every cell in our bodies has been replaced, and each memory is now a memory of a memory. What makes us the same person as when we were 3 years old? Can't be the hardware, because most of the hardware has been swapped out. It must be the pattern of us that's been repeated, with copied DNA and replaced cells calling us back into being over and over. And at the end of the day, aren't we just patterns anyway? Pumpkin, potion, cat, snake. Pumpkin, potion, cat, snake. What are his intentions? Who can say? They are surely dastardly, judging by that face. But hopefully the phrase pumpkin, potion, cat, snake is now firmly lodged in your mental ears and has become a small part of the pattern of you, your current mind state anyway. But in a few minutes you'll forget it and the phrase will be out of your mind again. Pumpkin, potion, cat, snake. And when that happens, will that be a different you? Will your current mind state have been obliterated and replaced until the next time you think about the words pumpkin, potion, cat, snake, blessed is he in the highest? Won't that be a new person then? A new incarnation of you? And where does that logic end? Are we a long succession of us's through time, divided minute by minute, year by year, as the pattern of us changes? Thousands of versions of ourselves across our lifespans. The broomstick has a little saddle on it. Anyway, let's talk about death. Christmas years ago at my parents' place, my grandmother's there, and she's asking about the internet. So my dad and I give her the tablet and tell her, in your hands right now is almost all of modern human knowledge. Ask it anything you've ever wanted to know. I can ask it anything, she said. Anything, I said. She squinted shrewdly, cocked her head, and with a tart smile asked, what are next week's lottery numbers? It doesn't do the future, I said. You said anything, she replied, gave the tablet back and hobbled off to mix another gin tonic and never asked about the internet again. She died a while back now, but whenever I find myself in a conversation I would prefer not to be part of, yes, homeopathy, I am sure that has any clinical benefit whatsoever, I catch myself adopting exactly her same tones of cynical exhaustion. Her physical patterns have ceased, but her mental patterns persist. I carry them with me. I wish to keep them safe from time. Which of her patterns was more real? The physical one or the mental one? Both? Neither? Isn't it the same for all of us? As though we were all ripples in a pond, and even when our bodies fail, our thoughts and our actions can go on indefinitely. What is a human, really, as the thing in itself, in ultimate reality? A splodge of atoms with eyebrows on top, a temporary assemblage of food that thinks, a matter pattern that mattered, hopefully to someone, somewhen, whenever. So that's metaphysics, kinda. The bedrock of reality where we understand virtually nothing. And it's strange to think that you can peer down into it for free at any moment, the beauty and the horror of the thing. Sunday morning, if you've slept well, those first few moments of waking up when you're not even sure of your own name, and suddenly you think, I get another day on Earth, right on. And I can move my limbs just by thinking about them. Neat. And what is all this surreal dream shit my subconscious dumped on me during the night? Wouldn't waking life seem just as weird if it wasn't so familiar? None of this is normal, is it? Did we invent numbers or discover them? Does the set of all sets contain itself? Why do I have a mind's eye but not a mind's nose? I wonder if other people fucking hate themselves. Are we supposed to be doing something meaningful with our time? Meaningful to who? Strange to come across old photos of long dead faces, all their rituals and seriousness. Did they worry that everything was for nothing? They must have. Their sandcastles washed away as we build ours now. Is that why we have etiquette and politeness? Why we sign emails kind regards? Just so no one starts screaming in the middle of the street that we're lost in space, that there's no center to anything. All those people on the subway you briefly make eye contact with, and without warning you suddenly think, Jesus, of the thousands of species we could have been, what are the odds that we'd all be humans? Of the eras we could have been born into, the millions of years behind, perhaps the thousands ahead, what were the odds we'd all end up in this century, in this decade, in this train carriage, together, now? And to think that shortly those doors will open and one by one we'll all trudge off into time, where will we go? To think that if we only knew, somewhere already out in the world right now, maybe there's the tree that'll become the desk that someone will use to design the first engine to push humans out to the stars. And to think somewhere already out in the world right now, there's a patch of ground where the next generation of doomsday weapons will detonate for the first time, where machines will be built in the service of Hades and we will outwit our guardian angels. What is it for anything to have a nature? Atoms or aardvarks? And why is our nature so predictably violent and short-sighted? Maybe we're incapable of seeing beyond it the way an ant could never fathom a written word. Was our nature built in, or do we decide it? And if we do decide it, then wasn't it built in that we would decide? The randomness of it. That on Monday you can hold your hand to your face and almost fall over at the sheer complexity of the structure of your skin, at the idea you even have a body, and then on Tuesday the best you can do is get out of bed, and even that hurts spiritually. Is life just really anti-entropy, with stars burning out and galaxies scheduled to collide, but meanwhile we're creating all these new forms down on Earth, writing stuff, building stuff, mathematizing stuff? Where did the original novelty come from? And why does anything change? And why does entropy go in this direction? I am something everything is doing. That's weird to think. That one part of me is myself, my name, my shoes, my doubts, but somehow I'm everything too. Matter that thinks is a person, or a person that thinks they're matter. Either way, it's quite nice to know there's always metaphysics. That however bored we get, however sad or lost, there's forever a crack in the fog. The constant reminder that we live in a mystery bigger than we can ever understand. And it isn't esoteric, it requires no telescope or lasers to reveal. It's available every second of the day, wrapped in the strange anarchy of how weird being is, where answers are hard to come by, but at least the questions are ours. Do dogs go to heaven? What's reality for? How long is now? Do dogs go to heaven? What's reality for?